So good morning everyone, my name is Lalit Soni and you are watching Drishti IAS. In this live session, we will be discussing Indian Express. There will be 3-4 important articles which we will discuss. If we look at today's newspaper, there are not much relevant news from our UPSC's exam point of view because most of them are related to your elections. But again, there are 3-4 articles which we have actually gathered from this newspaper and we will be discussing here. So first we will discuss shift in EC's response. Okay, so there was this alleged, you can say, moral code of conduct or model code of conducts violation, okay, and from the various political parties. And when we are talking about the two largest political parties like BJP and Congress, there are allegations that they have the star campaigner of these parties has gone for a violation, and then this complaint has been raised with the Election Commission of India, and Election Commission has responded in a very different way. So we will see what is that shift in that regard. Okay, then monsoon easing the food inflation. We know that inflation is under the check in recent time, but the thing is this food inflation is still high. Okay, so we will see with the monsoon coming next. Sorry for that. Okay, so I was telling you that with the monsoon coming, and we are predicting the monsoon, and we are saying that there are this time we will be having above normal monsoon this time. So we will see what are the effect of monsoon on the food inflation, because you know that agriculture and monsoon are quite interlinked with each other. Okay, then rise of a new Japan. Now Japan in this, when we are talking about the Indo-Pacific region, it is becoming more and more important in the recent years, and it is rising with a very fast pace, and they are actually building a space in the geopolitical scenario for themselves. When we are talking about the post World War era, Japan has always been a pacifist state. Okay, they did not go for any kind of defense related equipment, or you can say defense related expenditure, etc. But we will see there is a shift. We will talk about that. We will see what are the reasons, etc. This is very interesting article which has been written by C. Raja Mohan. So you know that he is a very good scholar when we are coming out talking about the political science. So if you are a student of political science, otherwise if you have a interest in the international relations, you can always read him. Okay, after that, around the world, we will discuss this article under around the world. Other than that, one more article we will cover over here. Then for your own read, there is a simple article, you can go through that. Then we will go to the practice question, which is the last segment of our discussion. And let's start with the practice question which was given to you in the last lecture. This is the front page of your you can say newspaper, and phase 2 will start because today states like Rajasthan will go for the voting. Okay, here you can say EC6 BJP and Congress responses to complaints against Modi and Rahul. Okay, so these are the star campaigner of their own political parties, and there are some complaints which has been raised against these two political leaders, and ultimately Election Commission of India has responded in a very different way. We will see what is the rationale behind it. Okay, then here with Nitish dented his political candidate banks on the PM Modi. So basically here this is also political news. So let's not worry about that. Now coming to the practice question. Here you can say which of the following is not a state included in Schedule 6 of the Constitution. When we are talking about the Schedule 6, it is basically a schedule wherein we have been giving some kind of autonomy or extra protections to the some scheduled areas of the states like Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram, and Tripura. Okay, so these are the 4 states which are part of your Schedule 6, and here you can say Arunachal Pradesh is not part of it. Okay, so option A would be your right answer here. Okay, now let's move further and start with our discussion of the day. EC6 BJP and Congress responses to the complaints against Modi and Rahul. There were certain incidents which has happened wherein there are allegations of hate speech, or there are allegations related to condemning another candidate or putting false allegation. All these allegations or you are trying to incite the masses. Okay, that is against the model code of conduct. Okay, now when we are talking about the model code of conduct, it is a set of do's and don'ts which has been prescribed by the Election Commission of India on the consensus of the political parties themselves. Okay, so these political parties has agreed that they will follow these norms. Okay, now as per the statute, etc., we do not have a basically you can say statutory backing for the model code of conduct, but you know that article 324 we have. Article 324 gives power to the Election Commission of India to direct, supervise and control the elections. Okay, and in that particular, or you can say getting authority from these three words, they have actually come up with the model code of conduct. Now let's see what is happening over here. The Election Commission first ever notice to the political parties for the alleged model code of conduct violation by their star campaigner. So here Mr. Modi, Mr. Narendra Modi, our PM Narendra Modi and Mr. Rahul Gandhi, they have gone for some kind of saying some statements, and ultimately the opposition parties are saying that that these particular statements are for the incitement of the masses. They were derogatory in nature, or otherwise there was some hate speech angle was attached to it. Okay, now these are the allegations which has been made by the respective political opposition parties. Okay, and that application has been sent to the EC. Mostly what happens earlier when we are talking about the incidences which has happened earlier in the previous election 2013-14, at that point of time, Election Commission of India has issued a notice, or you can say a kind of response from the individual himself or the star campaigner himself. But this time they have sent notice to the political parties. Now there are very many speculations which are saying that what is the rationale behind it, we don't know, but why there is this particular shift. And when we have talked the Indian Express, or you can say other newspapers, they have talked to the officials of the Indian Election Commission of India, they have also not given a very clear answer in that regard. So let's see what has happened over here. So this is what this complaint was there, and they have asked for the response from the political parties and not from the star campaigners. Okay, this marks a significant shift in the institution's response to such complaint. In the past, EC has sent general advisory to parties, but whenever there is a violation or complaint against an individual, the notice was given to the individual rather than the party. So earlier what used to happen that if there is a violation, then this notice will be served to the individual. When we are talking about a general advisory, that these are the things you don't have to do or you have to do, these things are basically sent to the political party. So if you can say a general advisory was sent to the political party, but if there is a violation, if there is a notice, that was sent to the individual himself. Okay, so that is what has happened in the past. Okay, now individual star campaigners are responsible for their own speech. The EC may, on case-by-case basis, hold political parties accountable for any MCC violation by their campaigners. Now, this is what Election Commission of India has said. They have said that no doubt, whatever the individual is saying, the star campaigner is saying, that is they are responsible for that. But even their political parties are responsible for that because they are their star campaigner. Second thing is, ECI has the power, okay, on the case to case basis or case by case basis, they can do, or you can say take action accordingly. Okay, so that is why they have actually given the notice to the political party this time. During the ongoing campaigning for the 18th Lok Sabha polls, all MCC notice issued by the ECI so far have been served directly to the leader. So far, whatever notice has been gone to, there are Dilip Ghosh, Supriya Shinate, and all these Atishi, etc. All these leaders has been served with the notice, but these are the notice which has been given to the individuals and not to the political parties. But this is the first time when we are talking about the our PM Narendra Modi, and when we are talking about the Rahul Gandhi, that particular notice has been served to the parties and not to the individuals. Okay. Now, Watchdog has reserved the discretion to seek response to an MCC complaint, that is Model Code of Conduct complaint, from the political party rather than the candidate. Okay, so that is obviously it is in the discretion of ECI. Okay, we are raising the pitch to make the parties responsible. This is an additional step. This is part of our calibrated approach to MCC complaints. This does not absolve the individuals. Now, EC has said that what we have done is to make sure that political parties are also accountable. It does not mean that we have absolved the individual, or we are giving a green chit to the individual. Okay, but this is a calibrated approach they have taken. Okay, so let's see what is the rationale behind it. We will see in the future when Election Commission of India made a comment on that, or how political parties are responding to that, if they are satisfied with that or not. Otherwise, we will see like how Election Commission of India wants to take it further. Then, if you issue a notice to a party for comments of a leader, how much of a room do you have to act against the leaders? Now, there are some experts which are saying, or you can say here Election Commission said that the EC's election commission move is fraud. This is what is said by the former election commissioner. So obviously he has some expertise in this area. So he has said that if you are serving the notice to the political parties, so what scope do you have for the individual, because what kind of action you will take on the individual. Okay, then also, let's say the political party's reply is unsatisfactory. What action will you take against the party? The intent of the move is not clear. So that is what I told you. Some speculations are there that the rationale behind this is not clear yet. Okay, the significant against the backdrop of the high profile political leaders who have been serving the notice directly by the MCC breaches for the past. So leaders has got such notices. When we are talking about Sonia Gandhi, when we are talking about Amit Shah, when we are talking about Narendra Modi in 2013, they have also been served notice individually. They were a star campaigner, they have been served the notice, but this time something is different, because no sitting prime minister ever got such notice in India. Okay, so that can be a one case wherein they have actually taken a step back over here. However, it is pertinent to note that no sitting prime minister to date has been issued a notice on a MCC violation complaint. Okay, now the level of responsibility is not only being raised but being legally linked to that of political party to whom the star campaigner belongs. So basically they are saying that we are linking the responsibility with the political party as well. Even political party at times of their registration with the election commission commit to stick to the ideals of the constitution and have reminded them about it. So basically this is a para, you can go and read it. The crux is that political parties are also responsible for that, and this is the first time we are actually making them accountable for their star campaigners as well. Okay, now before going ahead, we will talk about certain aspect of the model code of conduct, because we have discussed already, but I'll give you a passing reference. Here it is. So the MCC is a consensus document. As I told you, all the political parties, they have come together and then they have gone for this particular document. The political parties themselves agreed to keep their conduct during the election in check to work within the code. Okay, now it helps the EC in keeping the mandate it has been given under Article 324 of the Indian Constitution, which gives it the power to supervise and conduct the free and fair elections in the parliament of the parliament and the state legislatures. The model code of conduct is operational from the date on which the election schedule is announced. When the elections are announced, from that particular point till the results are out. Okay, so from the date of the announcement of the elections till the results are announced, this model code of conduct will be in picture. Okay, there are certain things here. You can see the government cannot announce any financial grants, promise construction of roads or any other facilities, and making any ad hoc appointments in the government or public undertaking during this particular time. Any kind of action which can be looked as an incentive to people, or you can say trying to entice the people, that cannot be done by the government. Government cannot go for the big financial policy decision, etc. in this particular time. Okay, now if we see here, enforceability, when we are talking about what is the backing here, let's see. Though the MCK does not have any statutory backing, as I told you, it does not have any kind of statutory backing. It has come to acquire strength in the past decade because of its strict enforcement by the election commission. And why election commission is going for the strict implementation or the enforcement? Because it is a job of the election commission of India, that is Article 324 has given this job to go for free and fair elections, and that is why they have this authority to direct, supervise and control the elections. Okay, the certain provision of the MCC may be enforced by invoking corresponding provisions in the our codes which are there, which has already been revised, like CPC, CRPC and your other Representation of People Act. Okay, so all these acts are also having some kind of elements which are attached to it that can be you can say enforced with this model code of conduct. Okay, so that is about model code of conduct. Now we can move to the next article. Okay. Above normal monsoon rains to further ease food prices, says the Finance Ministry. They have come up with their review document. In that particular review document, they have talked about the inflation situation in India. Other than that, they have also talked about the GDP or economic condition, all these things. But we will focus on this particular article that is related to your monsoon. Now you know that monsoon strike India in the month of May and June, and we are quite hopeful when there is this monsoon season, because our agriculture is mostly dependent on the monsoon. Okay, if there is a good monsoon, we will be saying that there will be a a good production. Okay, so considering the last few years, the monsoon was not up to mark, but again, when we are talking about the effect of El Nino, we have seen that in last few years there was this effect of El Nino, and recently it was seen that this El Nino effect is suppressing, and by some time we will be seeing the La Nina. Okay, when we are talking about El Nino which is suppressing, it means that rains in monsoon will be good. Okay, so that is one prediction. Other than that, there are various factors on which our Indian meteorological department, they have predicted that this time we will be having above normal monsoon. Okay, ultimately because of which we will have good production, and if we will have good food production, food grain production, if supply is good, then there are high chances that this inflation might go under check. Okay, now you can say above normal rainfall during the monsoon season, which is likely to lead the higher production, assuming good spatial and the temperature distribution of the monsoon. Okay, so we are saying that if there is a good temporal or spatial distribution, so if rains are throughout India, it is, if they are good, then there are high chances that we will go for a good production. Okay, other than that, they have also talked about, the finance ministry in its report has said that the country continues to exhibit robust economic performance with factors such as strong domestic demand, rural demand pickup, robust investment, and the sustainable manufacturing movement. Okay, globally the recession fears are fading, the growth is rebounding in the major economies, while some areas are experiencing subdued economic activities. Okay, so mostly what we are trying to say over here is that Indian economy is doing good when we are talking about the demand, when we are talking about the investment, when we are talking about the manufacturing, it is doing good, and global market is also coming out of the recessions now. Okay, so that is what the crux of this article is. Now here you can say, going forward, India's trade deficit may further decline as the production linked incentive PLI scheme deepens its coverage and extend to the other sectors. Okay, if PLI scheme is extending, okay, so ultimately we are producing more, there are chances we will export more, and that is what is saying that India's trade deficit may get reduced. Okay, now coming to the report, what they have been talked about, all this data which has been discussed over here, going through this particular slide would be difficult, so I have taken this data out of here. India's food inflation dropped from 8.7% to 8.5% in March. So there is a drop from 8.7% to 8.5%, but still when we are looking at the food inflation, that is 8%, which is very high. Okay, our targets are what? 4% plus minus 2, that is for the overall inflation. But again, if we are talking about the average, then this should also be in the range of this, the 4 to 5%, but this 8% is quite heavy. Okay, now predicted above normal rainfall by the IMD for the monsoon season is expected to boost the production and further ease the food prices. So that is the positive trend here. You can say specific items like vegetables, pulses, and contributing to the food inflation. So these when we are talking about the vegetables, pulses, when we are talking about vegetables, these are the perishable items. Okay, because of which there are chances that the food inflation will be more. Okay, you must have seen that seasonally you will see the price of tomato and onions are going very high. Okay, so these are basically your vegetables. When we are talking about pulses, pulses are also one factor which is leading to your food inflation. Okay, now moving further, here you can see retail inflation in financial year 2024 reached its lowest level since the COVID time, and it has reached to nearly 3.3% in March 2024. Now when we are talking about the retail inflation, that is in under our limit, so that is fine, that is not a cause of concern for us. But the thing is, when we are talking about the food inflation, that is very high. The core inflation has declined, indicating a positive trend. Okay, so when we are talking about the core inflation, so basically we are removing the perishables, etc. Okay, however, food inflation remains a concern and could impact the inflation trajectory. Okay, so this is 3.3%, and when we are talking about that 8.5%, that is your you can say food inflation. So if you take an average of it, that would be more than 5.5%. okay, so ultimately that will be more than 4%, which is our requirement. So ultimately, if food inflation is more, it will put pressure on the consumers. Economic growth, if we see, India's economy is resilient, driven by strong domestic demands, rural demands has been picking up, robust investment is there, sustainable manufacturing momentums are there. Despite global slowdown fears, the geopolitical mentions Indian economy indicators are quite positive. Okay, so that is about this particular article. Okay, now we can move further with the next article, which is related to rise of a new Japan. Okay, now why we are talking about a new Japan? Okay, so let's talk about old Japan first. You must have heard about World War II, and in World War II, Japan was, or you can say when we are talking about the pre-World War II era, Japan was becoming very influential. When we are talking about Japan, that was kind of an imperial power that actually has come to borders of India. Okay, from Japan till borders of India, they have come in the World War II. So you can say that what kind of influence Japan might have had at that point of time. Okay, a small island nation which is in the Pacific, they have come to India when the Britishers are ruling over us. Okay, so but after the World War II, we have seen that there was this atom bombs which were used over Japan. Hiroshima and Nagasaki incidents has happened, and after that Japan has been actually pushed to go for a pacifist policy. Okay, pacifist policy, or you are a pacifist nation, that you will not go for building up a huge military. You will not go for expending more on the arms and ammunition, defense equipment, etc. So that was the post World War old Japan. Okay, they were pacifist nation. They had this particular policy that they will not go for, you can say, arms and ammunition. They will not go for building a huge army, etc. They will be dependent on USA. USA has said that they will provide for the security. Okay, so they were relying on the USA, and at that point of time they were having good relations, etc. So they were relied on USA. They were allies of USA. You can say that Japan was a protectorate of USA at that point of time. Okay, that happened, and because of which what happens, Japan get time to focus on the commercial activities. Now, since you are safe in the area, because USA is providing for your security, so you don't have to worry about the security. All you have to worry about your commercial activities. Now they could focus on the commercial activity. Ultimately what happened, that they were so good in doing that. You know that Japan became in 1970s, Japan became the, you can say, second largest economy, okay, after USA. So that was the impact of their commercial activities which they have taken at that point of time. Okay, so they could focus on the commercial activity. You know that the kind of strength Japan has. First we have seen that post pre-World War era, Japan was an imperial power. Okay, afterwards we can see that in the recent time, if we see, Japan is a country, after a tsunami or after an earthquake, they will rebuild themselves in like matter of days. Okay, so they have the capacity, they have the potential, but they were restricted by their pacifist, you can say, polity. They were restricted by this particular policy that they will not go for any kind of defense, you can say, build up or the defense equipments, or raising a huge army. Okay, but now when we are talking about today's scenario, what has happened, that after Trump came in 2016-17, at that point of time, he has made it clear that USA is trying to be looking inwards. Okay, so from the NATO alliance, from the TPP, etc., USA tried to hold back. So this was one thing where Japan also saw that there are high chances that USA might do do that to them as well. Okay, so they became cautious about it. Okay, then US is also pushing Japan to go for acquiring of the defense, or you can say take a responsibility for the security in this particular area, because there is a rising threat of China for USA. Okay, and China alone can, USA alone cannot fight China. So USA need allies in that particular area, and Japan is a huge ally. And so USA said that Japan should take responsibility of defense security in this particular area. Similar was the case with India. USA also says that India should also take the responsibility like that. Okay, but we are not in the direct confrontation with the China as of now. Okay, so at that point of time, when we see, the importance of Japan started to increase. Okay, now coming to the article again, then we will talk about the new Japan. Okay, so what is the change? Japan is coming, Japan is changing. So what kind of change we are looking at? As I told you, for post after the World War II, there was this policy of pacifism which has been imposed on Japan, and it was said that Japan will not go for the any kind of significant armed capabilities, and it will be dependent on the USA. So it was a USA's protectorate in, you can say, in Asia. Okay, and they could focus on the commercial activities. By 1970, you can say Japan becomes world's second largest economy behind USA. Okay, Now that has happened. Now if we are talking about the today's situation, okay, so Japan today can be a huge military power because Japan has the potential. Now Japan has done good in the commercial era, so till now they have gone for the civilian technologies. Now there are chances that they will go for the military technologies as well. Okay, here you can say there are certain changes which has happened. Japan has transformed in the last 2 decades. There was two kind of transitions which we have seen. First transition was in mid 2000s. Okay, so new security architecture in Asia was built, or you can say a norm, or you can say a discourse which has been put forward by the Japan in this particular area. They have said that in this area there is a threat of China, so they we should take a collective responsibility to protect this particular area. Okay, so they have come up with a new security architecture in Asia. For instance, the concept of Indo-Pacific region. Okay, so you know that there is this concept of Indo-Pacific region which was actually put forward by the Shinzo Abe. Okay, the former Prime Minister of Japan. He has put forward that particular idea, and after that USA has taken over that particular idea, and then Australia and New Zealand has joined, India has also later joined, and ultimately we see a rise of a forum that is called Quad. Okay, so that is basically started from Japan. Second thing is, now Japan is saying that we will go for the military buildups as well. Okay, so the second transition, that is matching its strategic idea with the military resources. This is the strategic idea. Indo-Pacific, the security of the Indo-Pacific is the strategic idea. Now they are matching it with the military capabilities, and USA is with them as well. Okay, now what are the reasons? Reason first thing is that USA is saying that the other member should also take responsibility. So Japan is taking the responsibility. That is one thing. Second thing is, Japan has understood there are chances that USA might back off. So that is another thing. So they have to be self-reliant when we are talking about the security of their own nation. Third is, there is this rising threat of China. China is saying China is being assertive in the particular region. You know that there is this Senkaku Island which we have already talked about various time in maps, etc. So there is this Senkaku Island which is basically having a territorial dispute between the Japan and China. And China is being very assertive in the South China Sea. There is this 9-dash line, there is this Spratly Island, Paracel Island, Scarborough Shoal, Seoul. All these areas has been actually under conflict because China is being assertive in that particular region. Now to counter China, there should be a power to say that China cannot do whatever they please. Okay. Other than that, North Korea is also an issue in this particular area when we are talking about the area of Eastern China Sea. Okay, so in that particular area, this North Korea is also a problem. Then we have seen that China and Russia are getting closer. Japan always has this issue with Russia and China, because if we consider the history as well, so Russia and China are quite being inclined in this time. So Japan has reservations with that as well. So all these are the factors because of which Japan is trying to acquire this particular, you can say, military capabilities. Okay, what Japan is doing, and what diplomatic posture they are taking, we will be talking about that in the further slides. Then what are the implications of this new Japan, that push will last or not. So obviously there are some domestic angles which are going on in Japan. Okay, the current prime minister's you can say influence is decreasing, but the thing is, again, these people are very nationalistic kind of people. So ultimately when it comes to the Japan as a whole, they will continue with this particular trend. Okay, second is, how has India reacted to this change? India has not made any comment yet, but the thing is, it is in favor of India first of all, because we don't have any kind of enmity with Japan. Okay, if we talk about the independence struggle, etc., so there are various leaders which has actually worked with Japan. Subhash Chandra Bose, etc., they have worked with Japan. Okay, and after our independence also, Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru has also tried to make good relations with Japan. He said that Japan and China should take responsibility for the development of this particular region. Okay, so that is how we can say that Japan and India does not have anything to worry about. So these relations are cordial, and if Japan is moving further, or you can say they are trying to build a security infrastructure or countering China in some way, that is in favor of India. Okay, now coming to these particular 2-3 things which we will discuss. All these things I have already discussed. That change in Japan is that they are from Pacific nation, they are going for the military power. Okay, second, historically, as I told you, in World War II, they have they have adopted this pacifism as a policy and gone for the economic development. New Japan is becoming a major military power, aiming to reshape the regional security. Reasons, external factors when we are talking about rise of China, okay, is military assertiveness. China and Russia, which are going closer, growing military capabilities of the North Korea, which we have already seen. Then concern about USA withdrawing from the security protection. Internally, if we see the conservative faction of Japan, they have come to the power. Okay, so they want to go, as I told you, these are kind of nationalistic, and they are conservative in nature. So that is why they are going for such security roles. Okay, then action taken by the Japan, increase in the defense expenditure. If you are going to be a military power, you have to spend more on that. Okay, so that expenditure is increasing from 1% of the GDP in 2022 to 2022 1.1% in 2022. Okay, planned doubling the defense expenditure to $68 billion by 2027. Okay, acquisition of the counter strike capabilities, that is they are trying to acquire few defense technologies from outside. Signed a deal with USA for the Tomahawk cruise missiles. Then there is this each self-imposed ban on the weapon export, allows Japan to support allies with its manufacturing and the technological basis, integrated command structure with the USA for the joint military operations. So these are some actions which has been taken by the Japan. When we are talking about the diplomatic posture, here you can say efforts to resolve the dispute between South Korea with the South Korea. Now Japan and South Korea has this inherent dispute earlier. Now they are trying to resolve this dispute because both of them, South Korea and Japan, both of them are USA's ally. So it is in interest of both these countries to resolve their disputes so that they can fight against the China, they can fight against the North Korea. Okay, support for Ukraine. Since Russia is on the other end and Russia and China is getting close, so they are supporting Ukraine in this particular war. Otherwise also all the USA's allies are mostly going for the support of Ukraine. Providing aid and weapons to Ukraine, then advocating for the territorial sovereignty of Ukraine. Okay, addresses to US Congress. Recently there was this address, and in this particular address only they have said that they will go for such things, encouraging US support for Ukraine, signaling Japan's active role in the global affairs. So these are the diplomatic postures which has been changed. Now, as I told you, what is the implications and the durability? As I told you, there is some domestic changes which can happen over there. Otherwise, Japan will continue on these particular trends. And what are the India's reaction, which we have already seen. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Now this is all about this particular article. Now moving further around the world, there was this another article. As I told you, US's Secretary of State has been having a meeting with the Chinese counterparts. Over here you can say. So we have talked about this particular visit. Now there were certain things that they have announced you can say aid for the Ukraine, Taiwan, etc. For in that regard also we have talked about. Okay, so here you can say United States Wednesday started sending much needed arms and ammunition to Ukraine for it to fight against the Russian invasion. Okay, with President Joe Biden alleging the countries like China, Iran, North Korea helping the Moscow in this war. So basically, while this particular visit is going on, they are also supporting Ukraine, and they are saying that the other countries like North Korea, like China, they are supporting Russia's effort. Okay, like Iran. So that is why it is imperative for them to help Ukraine. Okay, Iran sent Russia drones. North Korea has sent him ballistic missiles and artillery shells, and China is providing components and know how to boost Russia's defense productions. Okay, so they have given a $95 billion aid to Ukraine, and they have also given aid to Taiwan in this particular Indo-Pacific region when we are talking about. Okay, so that is why China is concerned with all these activities which are happening. Biden warns that if Putin triumphs in Ukraine, the next move of Russian forces could very well be direct attack on the NATO ally. Now, Ukraine is trying to be a NATO's member. It is not yet official, but they are trying to be a NATO's member, and they are saying that Biden has said that if Russia does something like that again, so there can be considered as an attack on the NATO ally. Okay. Now in China, Blinken urged fair treatment of the firms. Okay, there is this particularly you can say business deficit or trade deficit when we are talking about USA and China. Okay, so USA is in deficit, China is in surplus. So here Secretary of State is saying that they should give the or they should be at a par with each other. They should not go for any kind of you can say any kind of deals, or you can say businesses which are detrimental for their health. Okay, so they called on China to provide a level playing field for American businesses, which it aims at resolving the rift between the contentious issue that could jeopardize newly repaired relations. Blinken Blinken's trip is the latest high-level contact between the two nations. As I told you earlier, they have actually gone for a dormant relations. They did not go for any kind of diplomatic talks, etc. Blinken raised a concern about China's trade policies and non-market economic practices. So that is basically a simple article. I have to tell you about it. So I told you. So now moving further, there is this for your own read. What BJP Congress manifestos says on environment and climate change. Okay, so in their manifestos they have talked about environment and climate change, and which should be the case because this is the reality now. All the governments, be it the ruling party or the opposition, they should have something to talk about with respect to the environment. So they have put forward certain things in the manifesto, so you can go through it. Just know some kind of, you can say, extract some kind of way forward for your examinations. Okay, so with that, let's go to the last part, that is your practice question. What is the purpose of Model Code of Conduct's provision regarding hate speech? A. To encourage freedom of speech during elections. B. To prevent violence and maintain communal harmony. C. To allow political parties to criticize each other freely. D. To incite religious sentiments for the electoral gain. Okay, so these are the 4 options. You have to choose the correct option and answer in the comment box. With that, I would like to take your leave. I hope you are watching other videos which are related to your target UPSC prelims 2024. And if you have not subscribed the channel, please subscribe the channel. Thank you.